tell you guys since we're all friends. Every character I write has a piece of me in them. Hi, I'm Lee Bardugo, and you're listening to the GrishaCast.
Welcome to GrishaCast, episode 62. In this episode, we are covering chapters 17 through 19 from the book King of Scars. This is your host, Eric.
And I'm Terry from Nashville, Tennessee. This is your podcast for all things Grishaverse.
A world created by the wonderful Lee Bardugo. Moi savieni casters.
Hello.
We are very happy to be with you.
We are.
And yeah, so let's say hello to who? Oh, our cities. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Our cities. We have Waukegan, Illinois.
Wow. And next, we're going all the way to Haifa, Israel.
Oh my goodness.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
Every single place is incredible, and it just it's weird to know that. Our producer tells us every episode a different place that we have listeners coming listening, and it's just thank you guys. We're so happy.
So much.
So before we get started, for those of you asking how you can help, we would greatly appreciate tips. $1 goes a long way. Your tips will help us to continue to bring you the GrishaCast. You can Venmo a tip to @BODHIMM.
Or Cash App $BODHIMM. Also, leaving a review on your podcast platform, liking and following us on our socials, especially our YouTube channel, would make us so very happy.
Yes. And anyways, yeah, our YouTube channel. I've been looking at that, and just to remind you guys, this is a podcast.
Yes.
And that's what it mainly is. And I'm trying to get better at remembering that we do have a video camera.
Yes.
And I forget. So anyways, I'm going to work at it though, because I know that we're going to start possibly getting maybe some people that'll just be listening to the podcast or watching it, I guess. So.
Yes, there are some people that strictly do one or the other, so hopefully it's entertaining.
And we did build a beautiful set for y'all.
We
did. We might as well.
And our producer worked so hard on our video.
I know. And this place is cute. So
cute.
Yeah, we might not have all the great gadgets and wonderful graphics that some of these other videos do, but we're getting there. We're trying.
We're a podcast, so
we are. But
anyway, deal.
So, how you doing, girl?
Good. I was at a conference most of the week, so
yes.
Didn't really do a whole lot except that I started a new hobby exercise routine.
Oh,
very random. I started learning Highland dance.
Really? I did. Okay, so that could have gone
random.
Anywhere.
Yes, it could have gone anywhere. I'm typically the creative type, so learn a new
Highland dance.
Yes. So I started learning Highland dance.
Okay, so I've got to kind of So when I think of dancing and something like that, I remember Israeli dancing growing up when I was Jewish. That was a big thing because Israeli dancing was so much fun. Not that anybody else would probably I don't know. I think Israeli dancing is probably only for just Jews. We're the only ones. And pretty much we just take pop songs from Israel and make little fun dances to them and then call them a whole dance. But Highland dance.
Yes.
Okay. HIGHLAND?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so what is it?
If you know what Irish dancing is, it's similar to that.
Gotcha.
But with Irish dancing, you keep your legs straight and together, and you just kind of come up on your toes. But with Highland dancing, they have what's called Highland knees, and you actually bring your knees up more, and there's more kicking and stuff.
Oh yeah, some of these pictures, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, girl. Well, we're gonna have to get you a kilt.
I needed. Well,
you've got. I'm sorry.
I am. Yes, I am.
Blasphemy.
I'm half Scottish and half Irish. So I got some plaids.
Plaids are cute too.
Yes, I am the whitest girl that you ever did, little mate. But
they're not only for lesbians.
I mean,
well,
I'll use it for that too. But
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I needed something more active to do, and I thought, why not? And I went between the two. I like the sound that Irish music makes more like the Irish dancing, because you typically wear clogs that make clicky sounds, and it's really cool. But I stuck with my Highland roots.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I've done something like active like that because, I mean, right now in our world, it's very important to do things like that. I don't do anything active. Like, I mean, seriously, like since COVID hit, like I really don't. I used to work out all the time. I used to always go to the
Yeah.
gym and like, Lord, I mean, I get a lot of activity each night when I get up and like go and get me and my dog a snack. And that I got to cut out because I'm doing a lot of midnight eating
Yeah.
and not eating some good stuff. Eating like,
Well, I just figured since I was like on my feet for like hours making soaps, because you can't really do it sitting down.
right.
It's really good for like your lower legs, like your calves and your ankles and your feet. And so I thought it would be a good way to strengthen that.
Yeah.
And you can do it in your living room.
That's
Nobody
awesome.
has to see you.
I think those are the best times to dance. Like I haven't done that in a while, but I remember I'd love to like wake up and have the house to myself and like, put on some music. I remember like listening to RuPaul and like dancing all over my house. Like, I had it. Like, I mean, it was just like getting into
you
it.
stole my heels.
I did. And I still have those.
You do.
Yeah. Because I was like, Terry, every other heel I wear, like I can't walk in. And this one, like, it was like something like was making it feel like safer or something. Like there's a strap or something. I can't remember where it was.
Well, it's more of a platform, and then like the heel itself is more of a stacked heel. So it's not like a stiletto or anything. Like it's got more stability to it. And I've got giant feet, so it works out.
Well, I have always wanted to like kind of like, have an opportunity to like mess around with drag. And like during that time, like I was like, yeah, we're going to do it. And then like I got into heels thinking this was going to be like, I'm going to get it.
They make it look so easy.
Yeah, I'm going to be the next Beyonce. And I like, I still look like, I don't know.
A baby giraffe trying to walk.
And like holding in like a turd or something, trying to like stay, like I do not look sexy walking around. It's just like scooting around, just like, woo. So we'll just say my Beyonce days are very far in the future. I'm definitely going to need some more practice at that.
Well, you can start Highland dancing and build up those calf muscles.
Yeah. Because I used to only wear I'd only practice in the heels when like Chris was gone to work. And
that's dangerous though, because then you're going to be laying on the floor with your ankles broken and nobody's here to help you.
Well, hell, I didn't want him like walking in and seeing me just walking around like I'm in my underwear wearing heels. I'm in the kitchen. I'm just trying to get used to him.
And then your legs are all like mangled, like
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day. All my drag queen friends and I give it to you. That's a hard feat. It really.
I see what you did there.
Pun. I know.
You're so punny.
But I am punny. It's hard.
Yes, it's very hard.
I'd love to like, I don't know, just have any man that like is just like whatever, like that must be, it's just walking. You try it.
Yeah, go for that.
Because I can't even.
I don't even do it. My queer girl self wears flats and Chuck tees all the time.
And see, our girls that play, they are bouncing around, just doing their Beyonce and feeling themselves. And just, they look great doing it too. So maybe one day. I thought it was kind of cute. One of the things that Lee put on Instagram, I just showed you the thing where it was like Nikolai and Zoya.
Yes.
And like, I thought it was cute that under Zoya's name, it was like combat boots.
Yes.
Because, and I didn't really think about Zoya being a com boot kind of girl. I just com boot.
There's a new term for us.
Sure is.
Com boot.
I don't know. I've always kind of like. I mean, I guess it would probably be like easier to be a squaller in com boots.
Well, yeah, you're not going around wearing some like giant heels. That's like, save that for the comic book world where they're all with like their big boobies and their big heels.
See,
are so impractical.
All my powerful women in my head and that I've always loved always wear heels. And
that's not how it works.
I know. I remember when I was younger, the first, like, I didn't really even like comic books, but I did for like a moment try to get into them. And of course, like I went and looked, and the one that I thought was awesome was Catwoman. I was like, hell yeah. And I actually just found like the first like comic book I ever bought, which was Catwoman. It's really old. But she is like,
Yes.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, it's
Comic
so like,
book girls are
yeah, it's not realistic. It's very like,
stacked.
it's definitely not like, I don't know. They definitely make her curvy and doing lots of things that like, I don't know, just kind of made me feel bad that like I enjoyed it because like I feel like it's like definitely like, just like putting this bad stereotype for what like women and but I loved Catwoman because I always thought she was just so sexy and like she like especially when Michelle Pfeiffer played her.
Oh yes, that's
Lord,
the best.
That was amazing.
Yes.
And like that outfit when she made it. Yes. I mean, I wish I'd be handy like that. You are. You're good at sewing stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
I have a whole degree in it.
yeah.
Woo!
Lord. I mean, I'm gonna try to one day like our keftas, which we're gonna have to get and make one day. I can't do that because I'll have like I don't know, it'll look horrible. It'd be like some kind of bad like Gone with the Wind. Oh no, it wouldn't even look like Scarlet with her like
No, yeah, we're gonna have to study it like when the show comes out, we're gonna have to like study it to a T and figure that out.
because I don't want the winter ones that we saw.
No, I don't want combat ones.
I want the designer like just sitting there like silk and like
Yes, the flashy fancy ones.
Oh yes, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
So I guess I guess we could get started.
Speaking of keftas,
yeah, we've got a lot coming
we can talk
to
about
you.
the Grishaverse.
And just so you guys know what our schedule is, we have got it planned out so we can actually finish this book by the time the show premieres. So if everything goes correctly, that Thursday, the week of, I guess it's like, yeah, it would be like the 22nd of April, we will be finishing the last chapters and then boom, there's the show. So that way we'll go right into like covering the show each week. And that'll be fun for all of us. We're just going to like kind of like, you know, take a little break and
geek out.
And all of us can like read Rule of Wolves then and then come back and then cover it.
I still am geeking out over the crows being on the fold. I can't get over it.
I know.
I'm slightly obsessed at this point
with
it.
Trying to figure out why Jesper's on there.
They all are.
It's just
So like why?
Well,
why?
it's just going to be so. It's going to be cool because it's stuff we don't know, and it's going to intertwine them. There's going to be two separate stories, but there's definitely going to be a way, like, and a reason. Like, I mean,
it's just the three of them that are on the fold because Nina and Matthias are shipwrecked.
They're probably covering, I bet, like that prequel story there
where she was taken, and so they're probably covering that part. And then they're probably going through like what the crows were up to.
Yeah. Well, what?
Because Kaz and Nina didn't.
Because like you just made me think of something. Because like I mean, if we cover Matthias and Nina, like their prequel story, we know like I don't know some of that stuff, but we don't know like during that time period the Kaz and the Nej and like so that would be kind of like that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's going to be a connection between them and like. I don't know, Ravka and everything, and the Darkling and Alina. There has to be. So I see that. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Slightly obsessed.
Yeah, that trailer's amazing. And by the way, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed that special episode. We just had fun discussing it and going through it and picking it apart and finding things. And I know there's a lot of other people doing it, and that's awesome. It's really cool. I can't wait to see what actually like some of that stuff is. But I love discovering stuff with you.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like when you pointed out that the rider on the white horse, like we didn't know what that was, but then when we realized that like the First Army, that's definitely what that was.
Yes.
So
it was a First Army uniform on that horse.
It's just, so much is going to happen. And let's just dive on in. We need to go. We need to do this. So
we could talk about it forever.
And we've got a lot to cover. So here we are, chapter 17, and it's Nikolai. And I'm going to start off with the beginning of the chapter. Quote, the skiff was abandoned and the sands carried Nikolai, Zoya, and Yuri to the giant palace, the dunes sliding beneath their feet in a way that made Nikolai's stomach lurch. He prided himself on adapting easily, but it was one thing to implement a new technology, adopt a new fuel, or dare to wear shirt sleeves at dinner without a waistcoat. It was quite another to see your understanding of the natural world smashed to bits in an afternoon. You look unwell, boy king, rumbled Juris, who had resumed his dragon form. A novel means of transport. I don't suppose you'd consider carrying us on your back. The dragon huffed. Only if you'd like to return the favor. Nikolai had to crane his neck to take in the palace as they approached. He'd never seen a structure so vast. It would have taken a regiment of engineers working for 1,000 years to imagine such a creation, let alone see it built. The palaces and towers were clustered around 3 major spires, one of black stone, one of what looked like glowing amber, and one of what could only be bone. But there was something wrong about the place. He saw no signs of life, no birds circling, no movement at the many windows, no figures crossing the countless bridges. It had the shape of a city, but it felt like a tomb. Is there no one else here, he asked. No one, said the shifting grotesque in a chorus of baritone voices punctuated by the growl of a bear. Not for almost 400 years. 400 years. Nikolai looked to Zoya, but her gaze was distant, her hand clasped around her bare left wrist. End quote. So, a lot going on there. So we finally see where they're going to this palace, and it's not just like a palace, it is a huge place. It sounds like it's a city almost.
Yeah, at a very strange, weird city.
Yeah, because it's got but it's massive. And it's got these weird towers that obviously kind of resemble or have to do with one of the saints. So it's just, there's no life there. The saints explain that they have been there for 400 years and cannot escape. It is some version of the fold. Here's a quote. We had power before the word Grisha was ever whispered, when the extraordinary was still called miracle and magic. We have lived lives so long they would dwarf the history of Ravka. But this place, this particular spot on the fold, has always been holy, a sacred site where our power was at its greatest and where we were most deeply connected to the making at the heart of the world. Here, anything was possible, and here we were bound when the Darkling created the fold. We are woven into the fabric of the world in a way that no other Grisha are, the threads tightened by years and the use of our power. When the Darkling tampered with the natural order of the world, we were drawn here, and when his experiment with Merzos failed, we were trapped within the boundaries of the fold. End quote. So that explains some stuff, gives us a little history. So they've apparently just been there since the Darkling created the fold, which is way, 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 way back.
A very long time ago.
Yeah, and because the fold, and it's just weird that, out of all the different saints, these 3, because it says that they were, I don't know, drawn to it, this place, but these 3 specific, I don't know. That's just a question of mine. So, here's where it gets a little interesting and involves our Nikolai. So they're discussing what's going on. Here's a quote. Then at last the time came when the fold was destroyed and the Darkling was slain. And yet our bounds did not break. We remain prisoners because the Darkling's power lives on in you. End quote. Okay, so there we go. We're finding out more about, one, why they couldn't leave. They were expecting to, but they couldn't because the Darkling actually wasn't completely gone because he's still in Nikolai.
Mm-hmm.
That little, that shadow monster still up in there. Just a little
in there.
Just a bug you can't get rid of.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing that I hadn't thought of.
Right.
Is that there is still part of the Darkling that is surviving. So he's not completely gone.
Exactly.
And I completely didn't even think about that until it's brought up.
I know, because you when you think about it, I didn't think of it as a part of the Darkling. I thought of it more of his magic, but not literally him.
But remember, whenever he did his little shadow creatures, it took stuff out of him.
Yep.
So, makes sense.
And then Zoya hearing his voice when it's just,
yep,
it's crazy. So here's another quote, and this is going to explain what's going on. The thornwood is older than all of us, older than the first magic. It is the wood from which the first altars were made and from which the walls of the little palace were constructed. I can raise it from the roots that survive beneath the fold to begin the ritual, but then it will be up to you to summon the monster from inside and slay it. So that's Elizaveta talking about the Obis Baya, which is the ritual.
Obis Bumpy.
Obis Bumpy. And apparently this is just like a very interesting ritual because so they're going to use the thornwood, which is buried beneath supposedly, and is like the thornwood is a really big like part of like their folk tales and things like that because you read about it and you hear about it throughout like the Grishaverse, especially like in like the Lives of Saints, and then also when you read the language, the book of her fairy tales, which language of thorns. So this whole like thornwood is very interesting, and yes, and that's the only way I guess that they're saying that like he can get rid of this monster, but he's gonna have to slay it himself. So Zoya asks about the survival rate that Nikolai is going to have, and it's pointed out that it's really up to him because he will have to fight against this shadow, but the only way to defeat the Darkling and bring life back to the fold is by this ritual. So they're really stuck in no other situation. Like, I mean, they have to do it. I mean, you know, Nikolai is going to have to because, I mean, he wants to get rid of this. He wants to, like, and now you've got these saints, which is very interesting because they're saying that they can survive and move on, but they have to do this like Obis Baya thing. So here is the end of the chapter that I'm going to read. And so, quote, "So after you skewer and roast me and I wrestle with my actual demons, what happens? The Darkling's power will be eradicated once and for all. The boundaries of the Unsea will break. Life will return to the fold, and we will be free. Free to do what exactly?" Zoya asked. It was the right question. She might be mourning her lost amplifier, but she was always a general, and perhaps Nikolai was too desperate for a cure to think like a king. Maybe power of that kind they just witnessed should be contained. "Don't you know, little witch," said Juris, "great power always has a price." Elizaveta gave a single nod of her head. "When we leave the bounds of the fold, we will be mortal once more." "Mortal?" Zoya asked. "Otkazatya, you would say, without Grisha power, humans who will live brief lives and die permanent deaths." Zoya's eyes narrowed. "Why would you give up such power?" "Do not think it's an easy choice," said Elizaveta, some bitterness in her voice. "We have spent hundreds of years in debate over it, but we cannot go on in such a way. This is what the universe demands for freedom from this half-life. One eternity is enough," said Juris. "I want to walk the world once more, return to the shores of my homeland, maybe fall in love again. I want to swim in the sea and lie in the sun. I want to age and die and pass into realms I have never explored." "You should understand," said Grigori, "it is not just your life at risk, but your country as well. If we fail, if you cannot endure the ritual, we might create another tear in the world and cause this blighted place to overspill its shores." "But that may happen anyway," said Elizaveta. "Everything is connected, tied to the making at the heart of the world. As the power within you grows stronger, there's no way to tell what kind of chain reaction it might trigger." "You will want to discuss it," said Grigori, "but make your choices quickly. Merzos is unpredictable, and every day the monster inside you takes firmer hold." "There's nothing to discuss," Nikolai said. They had their answers, and the time was short. "When do we begin?" End quote in chapter. So we've got a lot of information there. The saints want this to happen because that's going to also give them freedom to be free. And they won't be tracked at the fold anymore. They will not be Grisha and not have powers anymore, but they will get what supposedly they want, which is to be rid of this place. Which, I mean, if you're trapped in this castle that had no life for 400 years, and like are we there yet where they like said like you don't even eat or sleep in this place? I think they did, like that's another part of this like wonderful package of being in this like palace and like this weird place is like you don't have hunger, you don't eat, and you don't sleep.
Yeah,
so
it is you
would go insane. I would.
It's very strange. I'm not 100% sure that like I'm on board with this part of the story.
What do you mean?
To be honest, it's just so
weird,
random and weird and different. I don't know. It wasn't like.
See, I love it. Because it's like, it's history.
Yes.
And well, you finished this book, so you know where it goes. Like, I mean, it kind of like, it gets deeper, I think, into like the Grishaverse itself, the magic, and like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting, especially when we get further in and like just understanding it. It is weird, and odd to think like, because still we don't have an answer. Like, how did all of a sudden like they just end up there?
Exactly.
Because I mean, that wasn't explained either. Like, I mean, Zoya was doing something, and then all of a sudden they just appeared there.
Yeah, I think that's part of my problem too. It's very random for me.
You need some explanation. You need an answer.
Guess.
Well, maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll get answers.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. So how about you go?
All right.
What you got?
I got chapter 18, which follows Nina.
Oh, hi, Nina.
And so it's been a while, literally 5 chapters. So let's remember where Nina is.
Where are you, girl?
Leonie remember she fainted, and Nina had just started training Hana.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Forgot about that.
So that night, she stays awake, and after midnight, she hears people outside loading up a cart and goes into action. She finds Hana's hidden clothing and races through the trees to the fort. She gets there in time to see the convent cart roll up to the gate. Convent cart is hard to say.
Convent cart, yes. And by the way, real quickly, your tea, girl, this is good. I just took a first sip of
This is my favorite.
She brought over some
salted caramel tea. It's my favorite.
And I just took my first sip, and it is delicious.
It is. It just warms my heart.
Yeah. So, anyways, continue.
Convent cart. She races down the hill and acts like she's chasing it, telling the guard that she fell behind because she has to urinate.
Oh.
Which freaks him out because we can't talk about that. And he's hesitant, like, whoa, what's happening? And then she starts crying, and he rushes her in because we can't deal with women and their emotions.
Oh, Lord.
She finds a room with massive warm vats, and the next room tells her that they are making ammunition for tanks.
Okay.
So were the poisons in the river a corrosive byproduct? Don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make total sense, especially with the wolf bite.
The wolf bite. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
When she got bitten by the wolf. Yeah. When she sees.
Forgot about that.
Yes.
We haven't heard her story in a minute. So
literally 5 chapters.
Yeah. So it's taken me a minute. Sorry.
So I have this quote as she's finding her way through the factory, only simply for the fact that she mentions the crows.
Hey, gotta do it.
She wished she had Inej's gift for spy work or Kaz's gift for scheming, but she only seemed to have Jesper's gift for bad decisions, end quote. Aww. I just had to, because we got our little friends back for a second.
Honey, that's an Easter egg. We're going to go over all Easter eggs.
She was thinking that she's had her answers. It's a munitions factory, but the voices are telling her not to leave. So she lets them guide her through the factory, even though it seems completely empty. Then all of a sudden, she hears an infant crying. What in the world? Why, of all places, is there a baby crying? So she follows a spring maiden into like a dormitory where women and girls are just laying on these like cots with spring maidens like rushing around to care for them. And there's a girl that is pacing around who looks like 16 at the oldest, who is in labor. And this girl is begging for something. And Nina recognizes it as like her addiction to Purim.
Wow.
Which would make this girl a Grisha. The well mother walks in with her little cart full of syringes with a ruddy liquid in them. For those of you that don't know what ruddy is, that is a brownish red color.
No.
Nina is confused because Grisha on Purim are dangerous.
Right.
Even like these girls like aren't even in restraints. So this is very confusing because Purim is a stimulant, but these girls are acting like they're on a sedative. I mean, in my brain, it's like heroin.
Right.
And that's as far as I'll go with that. She recognizes a woman and a girl that from the very beginning of the book that Berger had sent away from the Elling docks. I don't know if y'all remember that story.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she recognizes this woman and this girl, and she realizes that this is what happens to the Grisha women who don't get away.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
I didn't even make that connection. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Okay.
It's clear that they are made to be pregnant and give birth to Grisha babies addicted to Purim or a Purim substance that would make them the perfect Grisha slaves.
Yeah, and this is all in Fjorda, which is just like so crazy. It's just, I mean, it's so weird.
Like how this whole thing.
See, this part of the story is so crazy, I think. It's just.
It is very weird.
Yeah, because like, I just think of the history that we know of Fjorda. Like, I mean, and everything we've gone through. Like, one.
And what we saw at the ice court.
Yeah, it's just so weird to think, like, I mean, out of this entire world, really, there's only one place that Grisha are safe, and that's Ravka. And, like, they are constantly at war with everybody around them because they're just, everybody else is, like, either freaked out of Grisha so much that they want to now have Grisha and control them and have, like, it's just,
Fjorda needs them for their military.
Right, because
to build the weapons and their defensive places like the ice court. So they need them to do those things for them, but they are against them as a being. So it's like they are okay with them existing as servants.
Right, exactly. That's all, like, as long as you do the power for us. And I feel like out of the entire Grishaverse world, like, Fjordans are probably, maybe I think, like, the most behind out of, like, technological advances. Like, I mean, with, like, I don't know, if you think, like, so Ravka's, like, trying to do the submarines, and then they've also got the flying things. I feel like
Fjorda has tanks.
But I
don't know if it's because I don't know if it's behind. I would say, like, Ketterdam would probably be the farthest behind. But Fjorda has always used Grisha, so I don't see them as far behind, because even though they may not have subs or anything like that, they've got strong freaking weapons because they use Grisha
to do everything.
Yeah, and they were using Grisha as weapons, and the Shu were as well. Right. So,
and they've been doing it, like, hiding it the whole time.
Yes,
and it's just Fjordans are so interesting to hear that, because it's the Shuhan that we don't know much about yet, but we will soon.
Yes.
And they're the ones that they use Grisha blood, right? Isn't it Shuhan that, like, I mean, they want to, like, use it, like, they're not, like, completely against it, but, like, I can't remember.
They have, like, the Kergud.
Right. They've got the Kergud and those crazy, like, things, but I also feel like, I'm trying to remember. I feel like one of the countries was like, they like to use Grisha blood to, like, help with, like, things. Like, it was more like they like using the body parts. Like, they weren't, I don't know. Does that ring a bell, or am I going crazy? Am I going on a tangent, not making sense?
I don't know.
Okay. That's a answer, kind of yes.
Let's look that one up.
I feel like we talked about that a while ago. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. Now I'm thinking. Okay. So the one mother goes to leave when a guard asks her if the straggler found her. Uh-oh.
Oh.
So now the guard demands a head count, and Nina just doesn't wait. She just runs. The alarms go off, and she hides behind some old equipment. And as they're looking for her, she's desperately trying to come up with a plan. So she looks around, and she just whispers, "No mourners," and launches herself through a glass window. Okay. She tumbles onto the ground, gets up, and takes off running back to the convent. And because she absolutely has to get there now before the well mother returns because now that they know that there's somebody,
Sure, yeah.
So she makes it into the convent as soon as the cart is coming up. She throws off her muddy spring maiden clothing as she's running through the convent, and she runs into her room, shoves the clothing in a trunk, tells Leonie, pretend to be asleep. I've been here all night. And just as Nina jumps into bed, throws over the covers, two spring maidens come through the door. Nina and Leonie pretend like they have no idea what's going on, but the maidens see some mud on the floor.
Uh-oh.
And they start looking through the room and find the muddy uniform in the trunk. The well mother appears and questions Nina about why she has it. And as Nina is like hemming and hawing, trying to come up with something to say, Hannah shows up behind the well mother and says, "They're mine. I went riding when I wasn't supposed to, and I took a fall from my horse."
Wow.
Nina is like, okay. And she goes along with it. And after the well mother lectures them both, she leaves to continue the search for this mysterious person. Leonie asks Nina if what she found out was worth it. Nina says yes. And then she also realizes that Hannah is going to have a lot of questions for her.
Yeah.
And she took the fall for her, and so she deserves to know.
Absolutely.
But she then realizes that there is no way in the universe that she could tell her anything.
No.
That's the end of the chapter.
And I just want to apologize. When you gave me your crazy, like when you were looking at me, I thought your chapter was over and you didn't say your chapter was over. And I'm so sorry. When I went on a tangent a couple minutes ago, I, for some reason, looked over at your computer screen, thought I saw like the end of the page. And then like in my head, like what you had said was like, oh, that's the end of it. So that's why I kept talking. And then it
you're good.
finally clicked when all of a sudden I was like, oh, you're not done with your chapter. Because
we had a good conversation, though.
I know, but then all of a sudden, like I just brought up, I said something, and you're like, I don't know, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, and I was like, I am so sorry, girl.
Best friend communication.
Yeah, Lord, but that's a good chapter. There's a lot of stuff going on. I really do enjoy like Nina's story because it's just so separate. But it's kind of cool also to know that, like, she was hired by Nikolai. Like,
yes.
I mean, like, she's
unofficial business.
Yeah, even though we're, like, reading his story, like, she's still connected to that. And that's just really cool. And I think it's neat to know that, like, I mean, just the way that she's going through stuff. I mean, she's had a hard life, or kind of, like, I mean, she was happy, and then all of a sudden all this happens. And, like, I can't imagine what it would be like to just look completely different than you normally look like.
Yeah, she even has a new body.
Yeah.
Like in that chapter, I didn't say it, but like she's talking about how she's having a hard time like with the body that Jenya gave her.
Yeah.
I can't even
adapting to that.
Imagine.
There are some really, like, I don't know who's done the artwork, but I've seen some pictures of Hannah and Nina, like in their, like, the way that she looks. And I don't know whether it's like professionally done. I don't know. It's really good though.
Because they made her look like
she looked like Fjorda.
Yeah,
like
with
more
blonde hair and
different eyes
blonde
and
hair,
like
blue eyes.
And it's just weird to think, like, I mean, we've got this one character that we don't even for sure really know what she looks like, but to now think that she looks completely different than what we didn't even know what she looked like. So I don't think I'd recognize her the way she is right now.
No.
So. It's going to be crazy. See, I just keep on thinking, like, where we are right now and think of what's going to happen in Rule of Wolves. Just,
yeah.
I know. And for all of you out there that have, like, read the Lives of Saints, like, that stuff is so good. I love all these Easter eggs. And Terry hasn't, but she's about to. I'm going to make her read it real quickly. And we'll cover that as well. So, anyways, I got to stop these tangents, but I've been really thinking a lot about Grisha stuff recently because it's actually like, I don't know, it's in a lot more places now.
Yes.
And I'm excited. Just everything's gonna be revealed. I was thinking that you and I need to come up with like a way, and we could put it on our website. Ooh, we're supposed to talk about that. We have a new website. Looks really cool. Looks really cute. And I'm going to float this idea by you, but maybe we should come up with like our own test that you could take and like find out what like order you're in, or find out what like I know the ones that are on the Grishaverse, but actually
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
Nothing against the Grishaverse.com, just ones that like not everybody gets cast.
Right.
Yeah. Hey.
So go to GrishaCast.com.
Yes. And
there's a little countdown to the show on there.
There is.
There's
it's cute.
a fun place where we can link things that we've talked about. You can message us on there. There's all kinds of fun stuff on there. You should check it out.
Yes, my husband, producer, put it together. He spent like a whole weekend doing it too. Like I didn't expect him to be doing it that long, but I remember like I went to bed and he came in at like 4 a.m. Like he had just sat there working on it. And that's so sweet. I know. And he just love it. So he did a great job. We're going to add more to it. We're going to have fun. If you guys have any ideas, we'd love to hear them. Really, like, I mean, let's make this a team effort. GrishaCast is like really fun for us. And I know there's a lot of great fans out there that want to participate. So yeah, we would love to have you participate in something, like just a way to help us and for us to like, I don't know, we're going to start having more guests, and we've already had guests, and yeah, love to get your opinions and questions and things like that. So anyways, let's move on to chapter 19, which is Zoya, Mugger. So here's the beginning quote. Zoya had thought they would be led to new rooms that would serve as their living quarters. Instead, Juris and Grigori departed, and with a wave of Elizaveta's hand, the table and chairs dropped into the floor. A moment later, new walls rose around them. The sand twisted and arched, forming 3 doorways around a central chamber, all of it the lifeless, sun-leached color of old bone. Zoya was not sure how much more of this she could stand. The world felt like it had been torn open. End quote. Is everything okay? Because
it sounds like there's a tornado going off in the producer
just making sure my husband didn't like die or something. Okay. Sorry, listeners and viewers. I was reading and just
a dog with the zoomies.
Just heard just like this stuff coming from the producer room, and like I can't see, so I was kind of getting worried. Like, did my husband is he like having a seizure on the floor? And like I should stop this. And anyways, he poked his head up.
Good.
Okay, so continuing on. Okay, yeah. So, Zoya is obviously there's a lot of crazy stuff going on still. I mean, there's a lot of magic. I mean, tables and chairs you can just all of a sudden have drop into the floor. I mean, it's just a great way to like decorate and get rid of something if you didn't want it. I mean, Elizaveta just like, I don't know, that's kind of cool. You know, I don't like this room the way it is. So let's just real quickly just like change it and tables and let's get new chairs and all that. What a great power to have. The power of design instantaneously, because I
want
hate
that.
Yes, because I hate moving stuff. I hate carrying tables and things.
I hate spending money on it. So if I could just change it,
the furniture,
I would change it all the time.
Yeah, carrying the furniture is the hard part for me. I'm
not the money.
No, not the money. That is not.
It's the money for me.
Which, by the way, hopefully next week we'll have some new tea set items.
Woo!
I'm so excited. We're getting like this new teapot that we're going to use. It's going to be cute. So actually, Terry and I will have we'll actually have a teapot that we're like going to share, because right now we have our own little personal ones. I don't know if you guys know, I'm just like a little crazy over this like tea company called T2. Shout out to them. They're from They're based in Australia, but also have a US website. Their stuff is cute if you like tea. Okay, that had nothing to do with the Grishaverse, but we're going to move on. So Zoya is hesitant to trust the Saints because obviously they've been there just a minute, and it's just not like reality. It's just a very odd place. And Nikolai says that they really don't have a choice. And this place is just weird. You don't sleep, you don't eat, and they can't leave unless Nikolai pierces himself with the thornwood. And hopefully,
that's all.
Yeah. And he's got to pierce himself, by the way, like through his heart. And somehow then the shadow monster is going to come out and he's got to fight that, which, I mean, really kind of just in your head when you first hear it, like, how are you going to fight something when you're attached to like a thornwood?
That's the same story as like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He thinks that he's going to like kill himself or shoot himself, and like the bad part is going to, anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was in a play and
Hey, girl, I
I
know you
can't.
love that. So, I mean, and what breaks my heart is I actually don't know the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, I know the like premise of it, but I've never seen the
we
show.
need to
I've
get
never.
you the musical. That's all you need. The
Oh, I
musical's all
know.
you need.
I heard
I
her.
got you.
Yes, I remember hanging out with you once, and you were singing it.
Yep.
You love that musical.
So much.
Well, some of those older musicals are amazing.
So good.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about Les Miserables because my husband's around. He would kill me. I made him go to that on Christmas Day, and I will never hear the end of that one.
Never forgiven you.
No. And what was worse is the fact that, like, days after that, everything was sung. Like, if he just, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm turning on the air conditioner. Just singing stuff. And I'm like, whatever. I know you didn't like it. Get over it. Which we watched the Disney movie last night, which was amazing. By the way, Raya, the Last Dragon or whatever it is so good. And I'm going to continue, I promise, but you have to watch that movie if you haven't. I know I spent like extra money just to be able to watch it on Disney Plus, but it was totally worth it. There's no music in it, so if you don't like musicals, great. The story's awesome, and it's cute, and it's beautiful, and one of my new favorites. So, okay, so we're going to continue on. So Zoya's all like, whatever, I don't know what's going on. She wants to get out of there. And Zoya also is still mourning over her amplifier. We've got to remember that like melted off her. And all of a sudden, Juris pops up and says that he needs to speak to her. Like, I mean, that Nikolai is not the only person that is going to be going through some tests. It's time for Zoya to have her first lesson. So Zoya goes with Juris. Juris tells her that he was a warrior in his first life, and that gets her attention. Here's a quote. Zoya raised an unimpressed brow. Sankt Juris, who slew the dragon, was really a Grisha who made it his amplifier? She knew the story well. Every Ravkan child did. The warrior who had gone to best a beast and fought it 3 times before finally vanquishing it. But now she had to wonder how much was legend and how much was fact. Juris scowled and continued down the stairs. Amplifier, like that pathetic bauble you clung to so desperately? When I slew the dragon, I took his form and he took mine. We became one. In the old times, that was how it was. What you practice now is a corruption, the weakest form of the making at the heart of the world. End quote. So, interesting because that's saying that the Grisha power and using amplifiers is the weakest? That is all we know so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another quote. In the old times, was there truth? Then in the stories of the burning thorn, had those monks not been ordinary men, but Grisha, who had taken the shapes of beasts to better wage war against Ravka's enemies? Had both the Grisha theorists and the religious scholars gotten it so wrong? Zoya didn't know. Her tired, battered mind couldn't make sense of it. So, end quote. She's just going there, like, I mean, remember that story that we heard that possibly, like, I mean, the kind of like the war that was beginning and the what was it? There were like the religion, like it was the priests that turned into like animals and fought for Ravka. It was like we just
yeah. It was, wasn't it like the very first,
the beginning of something? What was it? Oh my God, we're so.
It was the very first King's Guards.
Yeah, they were discussing the first soldiers and the King's Guard.
Yes, the very first King's Guards could transform, and then when the time came for them to turn back into people, they couldn't.
So she's going through her head, like thinking, like, are those stories wrong? Were those men actually Grisha and not?
Right.
So Zoya asks what he wants of her, and he explains that when he passes into the mortal world, his powers will go with him, but his knowledge needs to go with her. He wants to teach her, and hey. Sounds good. So we're about to do...
Also terrifying.
Yes. So we're about to do a scene, and this scene, I put together the most important parts of this conversation. So don't read through the book with it because it's kind of pieced. But I just wanted to like really break it up and like get some of the most important information and read it doing a scene, but I didn't want to break it. Like, I just didn't want to, like, all of a sudden, like, just stop and, like, you know. So this is the best way. So hopefully this creation is good. I'm going to be playing Juris. I know, weird. And Tori's good. Tori? That was a combination of Terry and Zoya in a really weird way.
And
I know.
also just listening to Tori and having a full-on conversation about Tori. So, like, that was just one big, like...
Peeps, I'm going to make it through, but...
It's Friday.
Yeah, it is. Thank God. Okay, so Terry... I keep calling you Tori. Well, that's a absolute, like, I mean, that is not an insult. I mean,
no, it's not.
That is, yeah, that's our
she
idol.
Got her name anyway, so.
Terry will be playing Zoya. Had to enunciate that one. Okay.
We are professionals.
We are. Okay, so real quickly, a special thank you for our background music created by Kendra Dantes and produced by Year 26. So, are you ready, girl, to do this?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're gonna do it.
I feel like it's been a while.
It has. We haven't. I don't even think we did a scene last week. So, curtain up. Oh, ha! That is amazing. I clicked the wrong button. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope no one's booing at us. I've got to take that off, but that was hilarious. So anyways, let's try that again. Maybe people will like it. Curtain up. Ah, there we go. Right button. I keep you on your toes, girl. All of the rules the Grisha had created that you live by, the colors you wear, you think you've been training to make yourself stronger when really you've been training to limit your power.
Zoya shook her head. First, this oversized lizard had robbed her of the amplifier she'd earned with her own blood, and now he was insulting the training she dedicated her life to. She'd taken her education at the Little Palace seriously. The theory she'd read in the library, the poses and techniques she'd learned in Bagra's hut by the lake. She'd practiced and honed her abilities, forged her raw talent into something more. There had been other Etherealkai who had started with more natural ability, but none had worked as hard. You say that, but I know that training made me a better squaller.
There was no name for what I was.
But you could summon? She pushed.
I could. I did. It was one more weapon in my arsenal.
In what war?
In countless wars. I was hero to some. Others would have called me an invader, a barbarian, a sacker of temples. I tried to be a good man. At least that's what I remember. Not all of us take to nobility as well as your king.
If you expect me to damn Nikolai for his goodness, you'll have to wait a while.
And if I tell you Ravka needs a more ruthless ruler?
I'd say that sounds like the excuse of a ruthless man.
Who said anything about men?
What was this creature's game? You wish me to steal my king's throne? You mistake my ambitions.
Juris rumbled a laugh. I mistake nothing. Do you really believe you were meant to spend your life in service? You cannot tell me you have not contemplated what it would be, what it means to be a queen.
As if a queen does not live her life in service too. I serve the Grisha. I serve Ravka.
Ravka, he rolled the R in a growl. You serve a nation of ghosts. All those you failed, all those you will continue to fail until you become what you were meant to be.
Finish your story, old man, or set me free to find a glass of wine and a nap.
You'll find no wine here, little witch, no sleep either, no respite from oblivion.
Zoya gave a dismissive wave, then set me free to find more interesting company.
Juris shrugged. There is little more to tell. A ravening beast came to our land, burning everything in its path, devouring all those who dared oppose it.
I always thought the dragon was a metaphor.
Juris looked almost affronted. For what?
Heathen religion, foreign invaders, the perils of the modern world.
Sometimes a dragon is just a dragon, Zoya Nazielensky, and I can assure you no metaphor has ever murdered so many.
You've never heard Toya recite poetry. So the great warrior went to meet the dragon in his lair?
Just so. Can you imagine my terror?
I have an inkling. She would never forget her first sight of Juris with his vast wings spread, and she wanted to know how he'd bested the beast. What did you do?
What all frightened men do. The night before I was to meet the dragon, I went down on my knees and prayed.
Who does a saint pray to?
I never claimed to be a saint, Zoya. That is just the name a desperate world gave me. That night, I was nothing more than a scared man, a boy really, barely 18. I prayed to the god of the sky who had watched over my family, the god of storms who watered the fields and fed on careless sailors. Maybe it is that God who watches over me still. All I know is something answered. When I faced the dragon and he breathed fire, the winds rose to my command. I was able to snatch his breath away, just as you tried to do with me. Twice we clashed and twice we retreated to see our wounds. But on the third meeting, I dealt him a fatal blow.
Juris in triumph. She would not do him the courtesy of sounding impressed.
But he surprised her by saying, "Perhaps I should have felt triumphant. It's what I expected. But when the dragon fell, I knew nothing but regret."
Why? She asked, though she had always felt sorry for the dragon in Juris' story, a beast who could not help his nature.
Juris leaned his big body against the wall. The dragon was the first true challenge I'd ever known as a warrior, the only creature able to meet me as an equal in the field. I could not help but respect him. As he sank his jaws into me, I knew he felt just as I did. The dragon and I were the same, connected to the heart of creation, born of the elements and unlike any other.
Like calls to like, she said softly. She knew that feeling of kinship, of ferocity. If she closed her eyes, she would feel the ice on her cheeks, see the blood in the snow. But in the end, you killed him.
We both died that day, Zoya. I have his memories and he has mine. We have lived 1,000 lives together. It was the same with Grigori and the Great Bear, with Elizaveta and her bees. Have you never stopped to wonder how it's possible that some Grisha are themselves amplifiers? They are connected to the making at the heart of the world. In the time before the word Grisha had ever been spoken, the lines that divided us from other creatures were less firm. We did not just take an animal's life, we gave up a part of ourselves in return, but somewhere along the way, Grisha began killing, claiming a piece of the power of creation without giving anything of ourselves. This is the pathetic tradition of your amplifiers.
Should I feel shame for claiming an amplifier? Zoya said. He had no right to these judgments. How often had Zoya cried? How many futile prayers had she spoken, unable to rid herself of that stubborn, stupid belief that someone would answer? It would be easy to ponder the universe, safe in your palace, away from the petty, brutal dealings of man. Maybe you don't remember what it is to be powerless. I do.
Maybe so, said Juris, but you still wept for the tiger.
Zoya froze. He couldn't know. No one knew what she had done that night, what she had seen. What do you mean?
When you are tied to all things, there is no limit to what you may know. The moment that bracelet dropped from your wrist, I saw it all. Young Zoya bleeding in the snow, heart full of valor, Zoya of the lost city, Zoya of the garden. You could not protect them then, and you cannot protect them now. Not you, and not your monster king. End scene. Oh, good. We got applause.
Oh, good. It wasn't a boo this time.
Woo.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to,
I know.
Control the laughter. It caught me so off guard.
I know. Same here. I just, pressed the wrong button. We hadn't done it in so long, so, I just was like, boop. And then
just
I was like, ooh.
Put your hand to it and hope you get the right one.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I know. What's funny is, we don't even use the soundboard that often anymore.
We don't.
And I've got all these little sounds on there just for you never know. So anyways, continuing on, Zoya asks if they are done and he tells her they haven't begun. So that was an interesting scene though, don't you think?
Yes.
All the information in there is pretty much just breaking down everything that Zoya knows, especially the Grisha orders, saying that you can just have all this power and that the Grisha orders were limiting, I guess, in a way, limiting the Grisha. Juris tries to tell her that she is blocked by using her power the way she is used to. Grisha are supposed to give a piece of the nature back that they obtain. So, gotta remember, getting an amplifier, you kill the animal, and you get the amplifier.
Yep.
So, Juris and Zoya start to fight, And while Juris coaches her and tells her to let the storm in, just trying to poke at her, and he says, like, open the door to her true power. Zoria's just getting frustrated and just pissed. I don't even think she's trying to do anything. But in her rage, she all of a sudden, like, somehow releases and starts to feel the storm inside brewing. She fights him and actually begins to feel the lightning under her skin. And that has never happened before. So she's intrigued. She's just like, she actually sees what he's talking about. And she gives in and agrees to let Juris train her. So that's the end of that chapter. And I think there was a lot of great information in there. Just kind of cool, you know, for us like dorks that love all the like technicalities of like Grisha. I just think it's neat that like we've got this saint that's like breaking down all the walls of everything that we've learned so far with Grisha power and saying that it started off that way. You know, I mean, I just think that's interesting that like, because obviously he was just a Grisha that like got known as a saint, and like it's so neat. And now he's like, come on, he's a dragon. Like, that's really cool. So, okay, well, it's that time for GrishaCast News! So, we just always have to press that. At least I can press the right button.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
So, GrishaCast News, we're pretty much just getting ready. We've got a lot of stuff coming. Thank you to everybody that sent in things for Lee's birthday present.
Yes.
I think tonight was the last night you can send them. So thank you so much. For those of you that did contribute, thank you. I have not gone through them because I've been making sure that they're all like in my email, and like I don't want to open them because I don't want to lose anything. So I've not read anybody's yet, but thank you so much. I know there's a lot in there, and we're excited to put it together. And it means a lot. Lee's going to love it. So what else we got? We're going to be having some really cool things happening soon. Stay tuned.
We have decided to do a watch party.
Yes.
The day that it releases on the 23rd. We will tell you the exact time, but we are planning on doing an Instagram live so you can join us and celebrate with us.
Yeah. And it's not going to be, we had thought about this, and like at first it was like I made it this crazy huge event, like, but there's no way we're going to be able to do that because one, like it also comes out like on a Friday. Not everybody can take Friday off, like crazy me. So anyways, we will be, we're going to be doing it that evening. So Friday evening, we're just going to kind of 30 minutes before we decide to press play, we're going to kind of, or I don't know, we're going to talk about it. We're going to ask them, and we're going to probably watch all of it all the way through. And then maybe at the end, like come back on and maybe discuss, see what people think. If you want to watch it, I mean, we're not going to, maybe 2 days later or something. I don't know. Yeah, who knows? We're still kind of figuring out. We have figured out that we are doing this watch party, though.
Yes.
So if you'd like to be a part of that, share in the joy and have fun, let's do it. So anyways, it's been a great week. And next week we're going to be covering chapters 20 through 22. So we're going to keep on rolling so we can get through this book. And it's wonderful. So, well, you guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Like, we're at the end of the hour, so my voice is a little husky. A+.
No mourners.
No funerals.
This has been GrishaCast. Connect with us on the web at GrishaCast.com. Send an email to info@GrishaCast.com.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at GrishaCast.
A special thank you to our background music created by Kendra Dantes and produced by Year 26.